Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good to see you. And I hope you're having a good day so far. Busy day, no doubt. My day was busy, but not in the normal way. I spent a lot of it on the motorcycle, going to Makati and back. Not a pleasure trip. Stuff related to our visas and things like that. A profitable trip, and I will admit, any reason to be on the motorcycle is a good reason. So even if it's driving on EDSA and C5, not quite the same as driving out in the province, but it'll work. And one of these days, can't wait to get on that motorcycle and go back out to the mountains. The mountains are still calling. I hope you're having a profitable morning. I have had a profitable morning, and we've got some good things to do. Last week, I know, is not the most exciting week, talking through the varieties of homework for the class. I promise we won't spend very much time on that today. So I'm going to start out like I did last week with some beautiful music, focusing on the human voice. Just listen to very different kinds of things, but focusing on the female voice today, actually. Next week, it'll be men.
I have heard of a land on the faraway strand. 'Tis a beautiful home of the soul, built by Jesus on high. There we never shall frayeur dans ce bois seul je suis venu. J'y vois Tircis sans être ému. N'ai-je rien à ménager? Sans frayeur dans ce bois seul je suis venu. J'y vois Tircis sans être ému. N'ai-je rien à ménager? Quand jeune cœur insensible est en plaindre, je ne cherche point le danger, mais du moins je voudrais le craindre, mais du moins, je voudrais le craindre. Quand jeune cœur insensible est en plaindre, je ne cherche point le danger, mais du moins je voudrais le craindre, mais du moins, je voudrais le craindre. Je ne cherche point le danger, mais du moins je voudrais le craindre, mais du moins, je voudrais le craindre.
Two very different pieces of music, obviously, different time periods, style periods, genre, etc. But two beautiful examples of singing. The first one is sung by the group Anonymous Four. It's a women's vocal ensemble that specializes primarily in early music, as in music of the Middle Ages and the Renaissance, but they've done at least two recordings of music from early American hymnody, part songs or songs, hymns and songs that would have been part of early, 1700s America, before America was the United States, actually, and into those early years. One of the reasons I played that is its simplicity and yet utter beauty. And it's a good thing to remember that beauty is not always something that is overwrought and complicated and difficult. Not that it's not difficult to achieve the kind of beauty that they did, that years of singing and training and then hours and hours of practice to sing with the kind of perfect blend and tuning that they sang with. And it's that beauty of that simplicity that makes that song speak so well. It's just basically right out of a hymn book, an old hymn book, and they sang it a cappella. Drop a part here, add a part there, for a little bit of variety's sake, but the words, the tune, the underlying harmonies, all done with beauty of phrasing and tuning, are enough. Something to keep in mind as you think about your own ministries in your churches. Challenge, we get excited about doing the big things and the difficult stuff, and it's good to remember that that's not always what we need. And sometimes we need to just step back and let the words and let the just kind of the raw beauty of the music speak. But it takes hard work to make that happen. It's not like you could listen to that and say, oh, well, I could put that together really fast with my choir, one rehearsal and we could do that. No, I don't think so. To create that matching of vowels and phrasing and tuning is very challenging and takes a lot of work. And yet it's worth it because it's almost like it strips away unneeded things to let the song speak. It's kind of like if you've ever taken an old piece of furniture and it's covered in varnish and stain and other stuff from years and years of use. And then you take a chemical to it to strip it all off, or you sand it down to the raw wood, and then you sand it smooth and then just apply a very clear coat of something onto that wood, and it's just beautiful. And it doesn't need anything else. Sometimes that's going to be the approach you want with music. No, not always. Beauty of interesting harmonies and surprising harmonies and counterpoint, things like that are beautiful as well. But just don't forget that there can be a simplicity in beauty that still takes actually a great deal of work to make happen. I'll give you a quick kind of example of this. I'm keeping my wood analogy here. Before the quarantine kicked in March, we were looking to buy a table, like for our dining room table. We had a big glass top table that actually belonged to BGMBC that we had used for several years, and it was way too big for our condo. It was made for a big house, and when we moved into our Maliit ng place, we had this big table that was way too big. So we finally went shopping for a table and got rid of the big glass table, and found in an antique shop this wooden table. Simple, big, the top, it's not huge, maybe 1 meter plus by, it's about 2.5 feet by about 4 feet, something like that. But it's Nara. The tabletop is made out of Nara. And then the bottom was made out of acacia wood. And the tabletop was something old, like from the 1950s, and a carpenter took it, stripped it, cleaned it, reconnected it, and then made these simple legs for it. And it's stunning. Now, we stripped it down and refinished it. I actually did 10 coats of polyurethane on it at the beginning of the quarantine. It's like, okay, quarantine on board. No, I rubbed and rubbed and rubbed for about 4 days. Sanded, rubbed, wiped, sanded, rubbed, right, for about 3 or 4 days. And in the end, what we got was this tabletop that is real. I'm not bragging. It's not my fault, but it's beautiful, honestly. But it's the beauty of the wood and the color of the wood that's coming out. But it did need that sanding and that stripping and that wiping and rewiping and resanding to let just the actual natural beauty of the wood come out. And in the end, you don't look at it and say, wow, that's really ingenious. That's very amazingly designed table. No, you just are overwhelmed. When I look at it, I'm just amazed at the beauty of the wood and the grain and the colors that are natural in the wood, but they need help in coming out. And I want you to think about that when you think about your own music ministries and the people you're working with. Work on bringing out that beauty that they already have in their voices, because their voices are God-given. And your job may be to help them strip away and sand and smooth and gloss to let the natural beauty of that voice come out. The second piece of music I played, a secular piece, Charpentier, Sans froyeux dans ce bois. I think that's how it's said. I do not know what she's saying. I'm actually trying to find a translation of it. I've been listening to that piece. I don't know. I'm addicted to that piece. I heard it about 4 or 5 days ago, and I probably listened to it 5 times a day for the past week. I don't know why. Well, I do know why. That's for another topic. But the singer is a singer that I've been listening to a lot. I've been finding YouTube playlists. It's a singer that I was not familiar with, Léa Desandra. She's a French-Italian mezzo-soprano who does a lot of music from like Mozart and Rossini and going back earlier to Monteverdi. So you were talking 1600 to about 1725. That's her specialization area. And she just has a beautiful controlled voice. And when you first listen to that song, I only played it for you once, you know, it's nice. Okay, she has a rich quality to her tone. And it's a nice little piece. If you were paying attention, you noticed upper level music theory geeks, it was a chaconne. There was this bass line that was repeated, a 4-measure bass line that kept getting repeated over and over again. But the closer you listen to her voice, the more you hear some incredible ornaments that she was doing as she was singing. What on a violin would be like a trill and mordents and fancy ornaments on a violin, she was doing with her voice, and yet doing it so effortlessly and artlessly that you just get the beauty of it without realizing this is incredibly hard, and you do not sing that way without years and years of very, very focused training. And that's what she's done to achieve that kind of singing. And yet, when it's put together, when I listen to it, I don't walk away thinking, whoa, she is technically remarkable. What an incredible voice. She plays her voice like it's a violin. No, you think I'm exaggerating. I'm not. I'm sure I've listened to it 5 times a day, at least for the past week. And each time I do, I'm overwhelmed at the beauty of the whole thing put together. This vocal line, melody, and part of it, I'm amazed at the composition. We've got this simple bass part, bum bum ba-dum 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 bum bum ba-dum ba-dum ba-dum, over and over again, and then the lute and the harpsichord doing all kinds of twisting stuff in there, and then this melody which sometimes lines up with the bass line and sometimes it doesn't, and yet it all fits together so remarkably. I'm just kind of overwhelmed at the whole package and its impact, without necessarily being distracted by the singer's technical skill or the players. And sometimes that's what we can achieve with music, where the music really is difficult in some ways. Think of one of the choruses from Handel's Messiah, like "For unto us a child is born," or one of the other great choruses from Handel's Messiah. Very difficult music, and yet in the end, most of the time, you don't walk away saying, wow, that was really tough music. You walk away being blown away by the impact of the piece. One of my favorite pieces in all of Handel's Messiah is the Blessing and Honor chorus from the very end. Blessing and honor, glory and power be unto him, be unto him. It's incredible and very complex. And, you know, I've conducted it several times over the years. We did it with BGMBC a few years ago. It's remarkable. It took hours and hours of work. And yet at the end, when the audience heard it, comments to me afterwards were, I felt like I was in Revelation chapter 4 and 5. And we were there in the throne room. And it's like, yes, that's the point. And so whether you're using something that is very, very simple or something that is technically, artistically very complex, we've got a bigger goal that we're after, especially in our sacred music and music we use in our ministries. And sometimes that goal is best reached through incredible simplicity, done beautifully, and sometimes it's through more complex artistic creation that is so well prepared that you're not paying attention to the complexity because you're just being spoken to by the music. And either one of those, if you can achieve them, then you are using music in a very, very powerful way, and in a way that is going to benefit your congregation. So I hope you enjoy those. If you look them up on YouTube, you will find the vocal solo piece, the Charpentier. Excuse me, you will find that on YouTube. I did buy the CD. The whole CD is actually really wonderful in iTunes. It's mostly instrumental, harpsichord and lute. Lute is like a big old guitar that has a really lovely, delicate kind of sound. And Thomas Dunford is the lutenist, the lute player, and he is absolutely remarkable. So I highly recommend that. And Anonymous 4, dig up some of their Gregorian chant recordings and their Renaissance recordings and just marvel in the beauty of the combined voices. Well, before we pray, sorry, I launched into class more than I intended to. Before we pray, though, pardon me one second. I wanted to just share a thought, not a long thought, just a passage from Romans chapter 11. As you know, in chapel, we're going through Romans, and we're starting right in verse 12. And I think that Dr. Taklob, when he starts his section, will probably be talking, he's going to take the next phrase in Romans 12:1. He's going to be talking a bit about what comes before, but we're really focusing primarily on 12:1 and 2 and kind of what follows, including my messages after Dr. Taklob. But everything in Romans 12 is predicated upon what goes before it. And especially the verses right before it. And as I've been studying and reading over, I've read through the book of Romans a couple times in the past week or so here as part of my preparation for my messages. Coming to verse 33 of Romans chapter 11 just reminded me of something really amazing. You know that the book of Romans is a deeply theological book. At least the first 11 chapters are. And that's how we talk about it. There's a lot of theology there. The Apostle Paul seemed to set out under the inspiration of the Holy Spirit to really explain God's righteousness, our sinfulness, justification, so that we can be saved. And even after almost 11 chapters, of course, Paul wasn't thinking in terms of chapters, but 11 chapters of explaining all of this, when he gets to the end of it, here's what he says. Oh, the depths of the riches, both of the wisdom and knowledge of God. How unsearchable are his judgments and his ways past finding out. For who hath known the mind of the Lord, or who hath been his counselor, or who hath first given to him, and it shall be recompensed unto him again. For of him and through him and to him are all things, to whom be glory forever. Amen. After all of the theological explanations, Paul basically says, it's too wonderful, I can't understand it. I can understand this much of it, but it's like this. You know, it's like saying, I know the street I live on, and I kind of know where my street is in the map of my city, and I kind of know where my city is in Luzon or what island I'm on, and I kind of know where my country is in the globe, and I kind of know where my planet is in the solar system. And after that, I have no idea where my solar system is in the scope of the entire universe. And that's kind of what the Apostle Paul is saying right here. Forgive me, I'll probably say this again when I preach in a week or so here, but you hear the wonder in Paul's voice. Oh, the depth, how unsearchable, who hath known? And so that, you know, at the end of it, all he can do is say, it's all of God, it's through him, it's to him. And so he deserves every bit of glory. And everything we're talking about in chapel, about how we ought to live, which is the focus in chapel right now, is predicated upon you and me as Christians literally being overwhelmed with God's graciousness and mercy. And in a sense, it's not possible to truly live Romans 12, 1 and 2, and everything that's going to come after that, because from chapter 12 on to chapter 16, it's all about how we live. We can't really do that consistently and meaningfully without being overwhelmed with the goodness of God. And so I want you to keep that in mind with each of the chapel messages in these coming weeks. As you're hearing the really powerful, direct teaching about how we ought to live every day, let your mind at the same time keep going back to, why should I live this way? Because of God's mercies. Why should I live this way? Because of God's grace. Why should I live this way? Because God saved me even though I didn't deserve it. Why should I live this way? There's why. Lord, as we are in the midst already of our choir time today, I pray that you would help us to remember these kinds of truths and be overwhelmed with your goodness. We are amazed at it, Lord, and there are times when we do think about it. Help us to think about it more. Help us to think about it every day and let it affect how we live. Lord, thank you for the time we've already had in our chorus meeting today. Continue to bless, Lord, as we talk about some other things. In Jesus' precious name, amen. All right, I'm going to get you up to do some moving and singing in a few minutes, but first, as I promised you, I'm going to give you a chance to talk with each other for a little bit about your LP1, which you have just turned in, and I'll be grading probably later this afternoon. Your first listening, where you listened to several performances of When I Survey, and which we're going to be working on as well in your repertoire project. So I am going to divide you up randomly into some breakout rooms, and I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to share your thoughts with each other about the things you liked and didn't like about the different performances, and kind of verbalize. You did it in writing, but kind of verbalize. So I'm going to ask, I've got several people here who don't have their cameras on. If you could make sure you've got everybody have their cameras on, and I'm going to break you out for about 5 minutes, and then it will automatically bring you back in. I'm not really assigning leaders, so somebody please use your gift of leadership to help the people in your room have this conversation. Okay, so we've got 25 people. So I'm going to divide you up into about 5 rooms. So there's about 5 people per room to talk, okay? And here we go. Create the breakout rooms. And breakout room is going to close in 5 minutes. And there you go. Tuong, you have to join. You should be getting a symbol about joining a room. Are you seeing anything like that?
No, sir.
I've assigned you to a room, but it's not sending you. You kind of have to join it. Do you see anything popping up?
No, sir.
'Cause it says you have not joined. So I think you have to look for some way to respond. I'm gonna try sending you to another room, I guess, and kind of look for something to pop up. You see anything?
Breakout room. Okay.
Mm. Okay, you guys are the first ones back. What was from your group, did you have a favorite performance, Angel? How about for your group?
Bakit ako? Yung pinaka the best po para sa akin is the third one.
Which one was that? Do you remember the performers?
I forgot the name of the performer, but I think the one that has many people there.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, and so why did your group like that one the best?
Because of the unison of their voices. You can only hear at least one. And the emotion that they displayed there, it was very nice. They depicted the song very well.
Okay, was there another group with a different opinion about their favorite, or what your group thought of as the best performance? I'm just pulling up my playlist so I can see them on here. How about another group? Anybody have a differing opinion about which one you thought was the best performance? Lance, go ahead. No, I guess he's not raising his hand. Okay.
Sir,
So everybody, okay, go ahead.
sir, I think po sa grupo namin, base sa discussion po namin, I think yung best po ay yung pangatlo, yung sa YouTube, pangalan niya is Maestros 25. Base sa pinag-usapan po namin, yung tono nung awit po nila ay clear, saka yung dictation po, saka saka yung simplicity po ng music, parang kahit simple lang po siya, talagang mapapakinggan ng maayos, saka parang talagang yung song na communicate po nila ng maayos. So base po sa discussion, yun po mostly kami po ay pinili namin yung dulo, yung Maestros 25. Yun po.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, no, that's not the biggest group. That was kind of the middle sized. Yeah. Good. All right. Well, I hope you had some profitable conversation about it. One of the things we don't talk about very much in chorus, I talk about it in conducting classes more, is different types of choral ensembles and different goals depending on the kind of group it is. And so I'm not going to get into a discussion of that right now, but having a mixed choir that's with voices from 16 to 65 years old, all volunteer, the kind of sound you're going to get from a choir like that and the goals are going to be a bit different from, say, a college choir like a BGMBC chorus, or a choir of all professional singers like the Dale Warland singers that I played for you last week, or the UP Madrigal singers. So depending on the group and the people in it and the goals of it will influence the kind of sounds they make. And it's good to judge ensembles partly on what kind of ensemble it is and what they're after. It would not be fair to judge a church choir with the exact same criteria as the UP Madrigal singers. Now, some of the criteria would be the same, but there would be differences as well, because it's two very different ensembles with two very different purposes for existing. So anyway, that's a discussion for conducting class. So for those of you next semester in intro to conducting, and some of you in the advanced conducting, we will be discussing those things, hopefully in person. I'm not excited about the idea of teaching conducting online. I sat in on a workshop yesterday. I attended a conference in Bangkok online about teaching online, and one of the presenters talked about teaching conducting online, and quite honestly, it was a complete waste. You can't truly teach conducting online. Anyway, I'm getting off on a different trail here, so I'm not going to do that. Let's talk a little bit about singing. Okay, so everybody stand up. Stand up and angle your camera as best you can. All right. Singing is a physical activity. It is like playing a sport, which means your body has to be prepared for that. And so we're going to just review some basics today, a few basics of singing, and start doing some singing maybe a little bit today and especially next week. But there's a few things to think about when it comes to singing. First of all is the state of your body. The state of your body. And what I mean by that is a state of general relaxation and flexibility and energy. Relaxation, but not sleep, okay? Relaxation, flexibility, and energy, okay? So let's do a couple things to kind of get ready for singing, even though we're not going to have a choir practice. First of all, I want you to just bounce up and down on your feet, a little bit on the balls of your feet, just bounce up and down. Make sure your cameras are on, Faith and Shannon, and I need to see everybody here bouncing. Jan, Paul, turn on your cameras. Yeah, now you can stop bouncing for a second and shake your right arm a little bit, shake your left arm a little bit, and then both just kind of loose, all right? And now we're going to do a self-massage, all right? So you're going to roll your shoulders forward 4 times, kind of exaggerated, slowly. Massages are usually not fast. And then back 4 times, slowly. The idea is to loosen up tension in the upper parts of your body, okay? Now forward again. 4 times, and then back again 4 times. Okay, good. And then we're going to do something with our head. For those of you who are returning chorus members, this is not really new. So, all right, we're going to turn and stretch this way. And I want you to feel a little bit of stretching here and here. And then go the other direction. Turn until you're stretched and feel it in the muscles. Then go back the other way and try to stretch a little bit further. And then back one more time, the other direction. And release. And what we've done is we're kind of slightly hyperextending. So the first time we go, we're just taking it to the stretching point. Then the second time we go a little bit further to take the muscles, to extend them. That way when we release, they're relaxed, okay? And we're working on relaxing these muscles. Okay, let's go down. And then up, but not too far back. Just kind of angled up. And then down again. Most of the stretching for this is on the downward motion. And then back up one more time. Okay, and then release to the center again. And then lastly, for the head and neck, we're going to go to the side like this. This is my least favorite. This is where I feel the most tension. It might be different for you. And then go the other way and see if you can stretch it a little bit further. And one more. And then roll. And what we've done is we've released as much tension as we can in our neck and upper body, shoulders, okay? Another thing we could do is we could work on massaging right at the hinge of your jaw. You have muscles there and they are often filled with tension. So you want to massage them enough to let your jaw relax. Some of you may remember Dr. David Parker visiting and doing some vocal workshops. And he suggested that you want to get to the point of relaxing your jaw where you can just move it completely with your hand without any resistance. I have unfortunately never been able to achieve that. I haven't worked on it as hard as I should. But we can at least work on removing as much tension as we can. And even massaging your face in a downward motion. It may feel kind of weird to give yourself a face massage, but it's okay. You can't go to the spa right now anyway, so just do it for yourself and feel the muscles relax. And again, the idea is not to have relaxation without energy, but just to remove tension. Okay? Good. And then when it comes to singing, the first step, once you make sure you've got this sense of relaxation, is that your posture is right. Now, my camera angle is not great for this because my camera is focusing up as it is for most of you right now, but hopefully you can get the idea of this. Basically, when you start from the top, your head is relaxed and parallel, your chin parallel to the floor. So you're not tilted down, and you're not up, and you're not stretched forward or pushed back. It's just comfortably resting, flexibly resting on your neck, parallel to the ground. And then your shoulders are gently relaxed back, not pressed back. Everybody try that. Press your shoulders back. Ready, go. Yeah, now just relax them. That's the feeling. And then you will, at the same time, get the feeling of your chest being somewhat raised. But you've got relaxed head and neck, shoulders relaxed and back, and your hands by your side, and your feet comfortably apart. Not feet not together, but about shoulders width apart. All right? And next week we'll do more with some things with raising your rib cage, and we'll start doing some singing together. Okay? All right, I think that's it for today. I'm sorry, I meant to get to the singing today. My impromptu sermon at the beginning of class was unplanned and took longer probably than it should have. I hope you all are having a great day and that things are working for you with your Google Classroom and stuff. Please let me or your teachers know if you are having trouble with that, okay? All right, we're done for now. I'm gonna hang around in the room for a few minutes, but if anyone needs to talk to me about anything, but thanks very much. Have a good rest of the afternoon.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you po.
Bye.
It's nice hearing your voices. Not sure what that was.
Dr. B,
Yes, sir.
Dr. B, I have a question for our last assignment.
Okay, for which one?
Yes. Where do we find the composer, the arranger, in our notebook, choir notebook?
Yes, sir. That's one of my questions.
Let's see. I will have to go back and look. I take it that it's not. Let me just look at what are one of the ones you just did? Sing to the Lord, probably.
Yes, Doc.
Let me just See if I can look at it real quick. The information was not there.
Yes.
Okay. I will double check that, and if it's not there, I'll make sure to put it in the Google Classroom for you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I better write that down so I don't forget. Thanks for letting me know.
Thank you, Dr. B.
Thanks. I'll check that later today.
Sir,
Yeah,
JD
JD,
po.
go ahead.
I have a hard time to make assignment, last assignment po. Because
Yeah.
I'm not really a musician, so I'm know little things about